You're listening to Why We Do What We Do. Welcome to Why We Do What We Do Mini. I'm your host, Abraham.
And I'm your show, Shane.
Did you say show?
I think I said something. So
Okay.
What I meant to say, for those of you who are listening, I meant to say I'm one of your hosts, Shane.
Okay, great. We're a psychology podcast, and this is a small, bite-sized version of an episode that we do where we talk briefly about a thing, and it's called the Mini. So we are talking about calculating the value of a human life. And there are a couple ways that this has been done. There's sort of some formulas around these. I know it's kind of a grim, morbid topic, and one that it kind of is a little upsetting, but we're gonna do our best to unpack it today. And I found this really gross website that was an insurance website of all the horrible places to find information on what should be considered the value of human life. And they use what they call the human life value, or HLV. And I also found what maybe is a precursor to this, which was the value of statistical life, or VSL, but they're the same sort of idea.
Yeah, if this isn't late stage capitalism, I don't know what is.
Right?
So, yeah, it's rough. So, okay, so the HLV or the VSL, we'll go with HLV for now. There's a specific formula that we found on an insurance website that boldly lays out the steps for calculating the value of a human life. And the value of a human life is determined by these things. 1, income and potential growth. 2, their living expenses, whatever that is. And then their dependents' financial needs are just 3 of the factors they look at.
Yeah, 3 more are debt and liabilities, how much debt you have and whatnot. Making sure that you adjust your calculation for inflation, for the value of human life. And then it's important to discount the value of potential future earnings against other factors, as what someone makes now will be worth less in the future. What they own now will be worth less in the future. So you need to have a discount built into the formula for calculating the value of that person's life.
I think of specifically debt and liabilities. I think about like what my own life would cost, and I think it's gotten better. But if you valued it like in my 20s, it would have been a nightmare.
Negative $10,000.
Yeah, just so much risk. I feel like the guys on Jackass probably like they probably have like a net worth, but like their HLV is very, very low because like they've spent millions of dollars on like concussion remedies and stuff.
Fair. Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. When they do these calculations, they basically come up with a number. So they're trying to figure out essentially what is a human life cost. And I think part of what I wanted to do in this episode is to bring up the idea that like someone even tried to put a price tag on this in the first place.
Yeah.
And ultimately I read in one place, they make the point like we kind of do these calculations a lot intrinsically. We're sort of we're making decisions for ourselves, like where we spend our time and the things that we do. And like, would you trade your life for money? And anyway, this calculation for a government or insurance companies, they sort of came out to a range of what a human life is worth and its contribution to the economy of a government. Again, late stage capitalism just ripping the throat out from under you and watching you bleed to death.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of different ways they sliced this, but in the United States and really most other liberal democracies, what they found is the value of human life could range anywhere from about $1 million to $10 million. And they actually sort of put it generally on the higher end of that spectrum. So sort of like around 10 million is a number I saw a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worth more, but that's fine. They did find, though, that there was at least 15% less value in dictatorships, right? So they found that like people's like life value decreased by 15% or more if they were living in a dictatorship.
Yeah, essentially, you just figure that whatever a human life is worth, that then becomes a dictatorship, or if it was started in a dictatorship, it is worth less than it would be in a liberal democracy, is the sort of the output of that study that I found.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of other factors here. I think there's this risk-benefit thing. How much is it worth investing in someone to ensure that they stay alive and healthy? How much would you be willing to trade your life for? How much does it cost to take someone's life? And so looking at prison numbers, I thought this was an interesting way to try and sort of extrapolate out some value of like how people would go about calculating human life. And it costs a little over $600,000 to incarcerate someone for about 40 years. And so we're looking at probably at the time they're going to prison. That's most of the rest of their life. And I'm sure you could push that up. Let's say we make it 60 years or 70 years, whatever. And you can sort of push that number up from 600,000 on up. But it costs over $1.5 million to execute someone. And actually in Florida, their estimate was that it costs $3.2 million or more to execute someone. So it costs 6 times the amount of money to execute someone by the government than it does to incarcerate them for their entire life.
First of all, that's just terrible. But so for those of you who don't know about Florida law and kind of how that works, I mean, first and foremost, yeah, I know it's loose. It's a loose set of laws down here in the South.
I guess it's no books. Yeah.
It's no books. Yeah, we don't have books, so we have to record everything somehow.
You can't say the word gay.
We can't say the word gay. It's really complicated here. But as far as Florida laws go and like capital punishment, we do have lethal injection here, but most of that money is spent on alligator trainers because most of our execution, kind of the process, they just toss somebody into an alligator pit and let them have it. So like they have to train the alligators, they have to make sure they're fed and kept up, they have to keep the enclosures, have to be well kept, they can't let those fall apart and let those gators loose. So that's a lot of the budget for that.
Yeah, that's a gruesome way to go.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. They could just throw them in the Everglades. They can just toss them in. I don't know why they'll just do that, but you know, I think they want the gators, not the snakes. Yeah,
yeah. I would be more okay with like having my body be food for animals, but I'd rather not be alive during that part of it.
Sure, that's a reasonable request.
Anyway, I'd also rather not be alive during ads. All right, we only take one quick ad break during minis. It's not a big deal. Okay, so other ways to slice up sort of the value of human life. One factor that someone might consider is just how much someone's going to make in their entire life in terms of money earned from jobs. And the average, assuming a $50,000 a year salary is about average, is that someone will make about $1.7 million over the course of their life. And so you could then potentially calculate my life is then worth $1.7 million if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess if you're like interested in like valuing your life as productivity or something like that, depending on where you live and how much you make and what you choose to eat, you will spend over $400,000 on groceries in a lifetime. So all of that value is just going right back into Publix.
Sure. Or Walmart or wherever it is you're buying groceries, I guess. Yeah. Costco, probably.
Wegmans.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think, considering food that you spend, that could be another way that you slice it up. I think you could consider what it costs to have a funeral. That could be a thing to consider. And then, as I said, if you were to, I'm curious about you, Shane, like if someone were to offer you a dollar amount and say, if you agree to let me kill you, I will give your family this much money. How much money in your mind would that be worth?
Oh my God. I think for my family, priceless.
I think they'd agree.
I feel like for me, if that were the case, it would have to be enough for like generational wealth.
Yeah.
Like it'd have to be like, I would want to make sure that like everybody was taken care of for like at least until the sun explodes.
Okay. Yeah. So a few $1 trillion at least.
At least. And lots of investments.
Yeah.
You know, give me a planet.
Yeah. Going Mormon on me, huh?
Listen, you got to start somewhere. I'll be your John Smith, baby.
I feel similarly. Like it'd be hard for me to be willing to relinquish my life without feeling like I was leaving the people behind me set up pretty well. And I think most of them would not be willing to say like, yeah, you can go ahead and kill that guy as long as we get paid. Like I think most of the people that are around me would not make that trade, I hope. But that definitely has happened in some cases. But we're not a true crime podcast, so we won't go down that rabbit hole. Not yet, indeed. But, I think the whole exercise to me, I think, the one person pointed out, like, it sounds brutal to do this calculation. And I kind of feel like, here was my thinking on this. I'm like, let's say there's people always talk about someone's net worth. The wealthiest person in the world, Jeff Bezos or something. And they say like, what is their net worth? And they calculate all their assets and what they have liquid and how much their companies make and that sort of thing. And they come up with this huge dollar figure. It's billions and billions of dollars. And I'm like, that person's life is not inherently more important than another person's life. It's just not. Like they happen to have gotten lucky and found themselves in a place where they got really wealthy, but their life, the reason to live it, the reason to get up every morning, the reason to do their job is not more valuable than a homeless person who's hooked on heroin. It's not.
Right.
It's just not. I'm not willing to say that we can put any kind of qualifiers in place to judge someone's life as being more worthwhile than another's. And so if we can assign any kind of value to these billionaires, to what their net worth is, then I think that becomes everyone's value. My life is worth the same amount that Jeff Bezos' life is worth. And then like everybody I think falls into that category. And then we start then making different calculations about how we spend those lives, right? Because if we consider that every life that is lost due to something stupid like a war or famine or a reckless incident with government officials making bad choices, or even just reckless incidents of people making mistakes, like then we start considering that like we can't accept that building shoddy planes is there's no amount of money that building shoddy planes is an excuse for. There's no amount of money that like isn't worth it to invest in people who are suffering from addiction disorders who are at risk of overdose. There is an amount of money that is not worth the palliative care to keep someone alive and happy and healthy as long as humanly possible who maybe is suffering from some kind of disease, unless the amount of money is worth the most valuable amount of money that anyone has ever been assigned ever.
Right.
And because like no one's life is inherently more valuable than others. Anyway, that's my big soapbox on this. And if we're going to assign a dollar value, that's how I would do it.
Those are all excellent points. And I think that you and I have the same value on this, which is, and I think it's important to understand where this even comes from, right? Like I made the joke about this being late stage capitalism, but ultimately this is the reason that we are looking at the value of a human life in dollar amounts is because of capitalism and productivity, right? Like that's part of where this is coming from. Like what you just described was productivity, assets, all those things, which are often indicators of somebody's value of life. And I think that and I think it's important to know that that's an implicit bias that all of us have kind of inherited as part of growing up in a capitalistic society. It's very easy to accept that somebody's life is worth X, Y, and Z, or why we value or put billionaires up on a certain pedestal, or we look at net worth as a thing that's like an important measure. And we look at all that stuff because we live in a world where money, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Wu-Tang Clan that said this best: cash rules everything around me. And as a result of that,
nice.
We live in a world, right, where like money is such a predominant thing that it makes sense that we have developed systems to value life based on the dollar. When the truth is when we base life based on like ethics and morals, then we would value every life equally.
Yeah. Didn't think Wu-Tang Clan was going to make an appearance here, but I'm happy that they did.
You're welcome.
That's what I have you for.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the little things,
Your life is worth how much you are loved by those around you. And even for those who have little of that in their lives, their life is still meaningful and should not be discounted. So that's where we're at.
Yep. 100%.
The most hopeful end ever. Anything else you need to add before we wrap up here?
No, I think that covers it.
That's how you calculate a human life. Why We Do What We Do Mini is out.
See ya.
Listening to Why We Do What We Do. And other episodes by going to www.wwdpodcast.com. And we hope you have an awesome day.